Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda. I'm 34 years old, and I need to tell you a story that happened to me a few months ago. To this day, I can't properly explain what happened. I know it might sound crazy, but you'll understand why I need to share this. It all started on an ordinary Tuesday. I work as a nurse on the night shift at a hospital in my city, and that day I was coming home after a really tough shift. It was around 6 in the morning, and I was exhausted, that kind of tiredness you feel in your bones. I live in a small house at the end of a very quiet street, one of those where cars hardly ever pass. It's a residential neighborhood where everyone knows each other, where people still greet each other when they meet on the street. I liked that feeling of safety, that closeness with the neighbors. Nothing strange had ever happened there. When I got home, the first thing I noticed was that there was a coffee cup on the kitchen table. A cup that I was absolutely certain wasn't there when I left the night before. I thought maybe I had forgotten, right? When you work different shifts, sometimes memory plays tricks on you. But something in my chest wasn't feeling right about it. I went to take a shower and try to rest a bit. But when I entered the bedroom, my bed was made differently. I always leave the pillows in a specific way, kind of crooked, you know how it is. But they were perfectly aligned, as if someone had made the bed very carefully. My heart started beating faster. I searched the entire house, checked all the doors and windows, but everything was locked the way I had left it. Nothing was missing, nothing had been touched except for these small things. I tried to convince myself that I was being paranoid because of tiredness. But then stranger things started happening. The next day, when I came back from work, I found a note on the refrigerator. It was very beautiful handwriting, neat, that said only, "Thank you for the hospitality." My first reaction was to call the police, but what was I going to say? That someone broke into my house to make coffee and leave a thank you note? I decided to install some security cameras. They weren't anything very sophisticated, just basic cameras that connected to my phone. At least I would have some peace of mind, or at least find out if I was going crazy. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. I even started to relax, thinking it had just been a strange coincidence or that I really was more stressed than I imagined. But then, on a Thursday, when I checked the cameras on my phone during my break at work, I saw something that made me tremble. It was a human figure, but the images were somewhat distorted. It looked like a man of medium height, wearing dark clothes, but there was something different about him. I can't explain it properly, but it was as if he moved in a very smooth way, almost floating. The strangest thing is that he didn't appear on all cameras at the same time, even when he was passing through areas that should have been filmed. In the images, you could see him entering through the front door. Not forcing, not breaking in, simply entering, as if he had the key. He walked through the house very naturally, as if he knew every room. He stopped in the kitchen, made coffee, sat at the table, and stayed there for almost an hour, just drinking and looking out the window. My first reaction was to run out of the hospital and go home, but when I got there was no one. Just the smell of coffee still lingering in the air and a strange feeling that someone had been there recently. I checked everything again, but there were no signs of breaking in or that anything had been touched. I called my sister, who lives in another city, and told her everything. She was worried and said I should go spend a few days at her house, but I didn't want to abandon my routine. Besides, part of me was curious. I know it sounds crazy, but there was something about that man that didn't seem threatening. In the following days, he continued appearing. Always when I was at work, always doing the same things. He would enter, make coffee, sit at the kitchen table, stay there for a while, and then leave. He never touched anything, never took anything. It was as if he just needed a place to rest for a few hours. I started leaving more coffee at home, and even some cookies. I don't know why I did this, but something told me he wasn't there to harm me. When I got home, I always found everything very clean and organized, as if he wanted to return the hospitality. The mystery only became clear when I found a letter on top of the kitchen table. It was a long letter, written in the same neat handwriting as the previous notes. I'll try to remember the exact words, because they marked me deeply. Dear Amanda, I know you must be confused and maybe scared by my presence. I apologize for invading your privacy, but I need to explain why I'm here. My name is Marcus, and I'm not exactly like other people you know. 3 months ago, I died in an accident, but for some reason I don't understand myself. I couldn't move on. I have been wandering from house to house, trying to understand why I'm still here. Your house was the first where I felt some peace. There's something about you, about the energy you carry, that calms me. I know this must sound scary, but I promise I'm not here to harm you. I'm a nurse, just like you. I worked the night shift too, and maybe that's why I feel connected to your routine. When you're at the hospital taking care of people, I stay here, feeling as if I could still be useful somehow, even if it's just by keeping your house in order. I know I can't continue like this forever. I need to find my way, but your kindness, even without knowing me, gave me strength to try to understand what I need to do. Thank you for not calling the police, for leaving coffee and cookies. You have a generous heart. When I finished reading, my hands were shaking. It wasn't fear, it was a mixture of sadness and compassion. I sat in the same chair where he would stay every night and stayed there, trying to process all of that. That night, before going to work, I left a written response for him. I said I understood his situation and that he could continue coming while he needed to. I also wrote about my routine at the hospital, about how sometimes I felt alone too, even surrounded by people. When I returned home the next morning, I found another letter. He had written about his previous life, about how he loved being a nurse, about the family he had lost contact with before the accident. It was as if he needed to tell his story to someone, and I felt honored to be that person. This continued for a few weeks. We corresponded through letters, even though we never saw each other in person. He told me about the things he observed during the day, about how he saw life from a different perspective now. I talked about my patients, about my fears and dreams. It was a strange friendship, but genuine. Gradually, I noticed he was getting weaker. The letters in the letters were less firm, and he started writing about feeling an attraction to a place he couldn't describe. He said our friendship had given him courage to face whatever came next. The last letter I received was different. It was written in almost faded handwriting, as if he had used all his energy to write. Amanda, it's time for me to leave. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm not afraid anymore. Your friendship showed me that there's still kindness in the world, even in the most impossible circumstances. You helped me remember who I was when I was alive, and that gave me peace to accept what I need to do now. Thank you for being my friend when I needed it most. Keep being that wonderful person you are. The world needs more people like you. Take care of yourself, and know that wherever I go, I'll carry the memory of your kindness with me. After that letter, he never appeared again. The cameras didn't capture anything else, and the house returned to its usual silence. But sometimes, when I get home after a particularly difficult shift, I still smell a gentle coffee scent in the air, as if he's reminding me that I'm not alone. I know many people will say I made all this up, that it was work stress, or that I was going through a difficult time. But I keep all the letters he wrote. The handwriting is consistent. The stories are too detailed to be a product of my imagination. And most importantly, I felt his presence, his kindness, his humanity. This experience changed my perspective on many things. It made me think about how we treat people who are going through difficult times, about how a simple gesture of kindness can make a difference in someone's life. Marcus may not have been an ordinary person, but his feelings were real. His need for human connection was real. Sometimes I wonder if he managed to find his way, if he's at peace now. I hope so. And I hope that wherever he is, he knows that our friendship was special to me too. He taught me that compassion knows no limits, that kindness can exist in the most impossible circumstances. I continued working as a nurse, but now I pay more attention to small details, to people who seem lost or in need of a friendly word. Because we never know when someone is going through something we can't fully understand. If you made it this far, thank you for listening to my story. I know it's hard to believe, but I needed to share it. Sometimes, the strangest experiences are the ones that teach us most about what really matters in life. And who knows? Maybe Marcus is watching this video too from wherever he is and knows that I still remember him fondly. That our impossible friendship still lives in my heart, and that it made me a better person. Thank you for listening. I hope you never have to go through something like this, but if you do, remember that kindness is always worth it, even when we don't fully understand what's happening around us.